Season 11 of the NSFL begins. We have our first controversy of the season, and I finally deliver a sober podcast this season. This is the Sabercast Studios Week in Review, and I am your host, Sweetwater. So, it's finally here. Season 11. Feels like... I wanted to say it feels like just yesterday this league started, but it was over a year ago now, a year and a half now. It's been a while. I've been gone long enough that it does feel like just yesterday that I started in this league, but here we go. So, we got Season 11. Favorites, obviously, are continuing to show. We had our S10 champions, the Hawks. The runners-up, the NOLA second line, and you know what? Those guys are still rocking it. It's only week 2 here, obviously. Week 1, we had our results in. Week 2, we've got our results in. And the favorites are still looking like the favorites. Turns out the good teams stay pretty good. Some teams move up and down. Some teams still a little bit rocky. But all in all, it's turning out to be a good season. We get to see some rookies showing up in the stats. We get to see some veterans proving that they're still worth their contracts. Regression has hit, so obviously people are going to be battling that, and we're getting very, very close to the auto-retire sections of this league. Our first set of auto-retires, of forced auto-retires, not just based on regression, where players are actually officially out of the league, and our vets from Season 1 are going to have to start thinking about a new character here. Character. I play a lot of role-playing games, so I'm used to saying character, but you guys know what I mean. Anyway, we'll get more into that, but first, let's talk about this controversy that's going on right now. I guess it's not really controversy. HO handed down a punishment on a whole situation. I figure I should weigh in a bit. So, let's talk about what's going on. In case you missed it, though if you listen to this podcast, you probably are on this enough that you know what's going on. The first controversy of Season 11 was Young TB, also known as Marquise Brown, was caught repeatedly claiming TPE over and over again. His claim is that he was lazy and it was non-intentional, and that he should not be punished that hard. The head office sees that differently and decided to punish him with $6 million in fines and a loss of 16 TPE. Now, there are a couple of different opinions on how this happened, whether or not the punishment was too harsh, whether the punishment was harsh enough, why they decided to go with this, all that kind of stuff. So let's get into that. So, backstory of what happened. It appears that a couple of seasons ago, maybe last season, I don't know exactly, I'm not looking directly at it, but from my understanding, he had double claimed on something, and it went unnoticed for a while. A new updater came in, noticed the double claim, and especially after a second one had happened. So there was after the first instance was caught, the first time it was caught, regardless of how many times it had happened, the first time it was caught, he was given the warning, hey, you double claimed, please make sure you don't do that again. No big deal, it happens, I guess. Just make sure you're checking your links every once in a while. Easy to see how a slip up like that could happen. I know I have fucked up my share of update pages, and I definitely know how much of a pain it is for the updaters to deal with that, having worked with them to make sure shit was taken care of. So, no problem. One time. No harm, no foul. The next update page, the next time he was updated, double claimed again. This time, again, warned, referred to GMs. The GMs were informed, or he was informed to go to his GMs to make sure it doesn't happen again. And the head updater was informed, who, just gave a little tip to the head office, even probably just one head officer, saying, hey, by the way, this happened twice in a row now. Let's make sure it doesn't happen again. Keep an eye out for it. I'm going to keep an eye. Head updater says, I'm going to keep an eye out for it. Updater for Young TB says he's going to keep an eye on it. Simple enough. But, it happens twice in a row. Obviously, this league is very, very much against cheating. That's seen as a form of cheating. So, of course, you want to keep an eye on that. We all would for the integrity of the league. Again, easy slip up to make. Young TB says, I'm just lazy. I didn't check my links. No big deal. I'm not trying to cheat. I'm just bad at doing update pages. All right, twice. The next week, it happens again. That's 3 times in a row. 3 updates in a row. Doesn't matter over what amount of time. 3 updates in a row. Double links happen. This time it's informed to the head office. For real. Hey, a double claim has happened 3 updates in a row with no change in this. Once is a mistake. Twice is a coincidence. 3 times is a pattern. Now, do I believe that Young TB was cheating? No, I don't. Why would I ever think he was cheating? I've ruled on cheating things before. For those of you who may or may not know my history, I had to help out with the Noble thing. I had to help out with the thing, though I did excuse myself from that, and that was a whole different world. But, it's something that has to be reported. But I don't think he was cheating. I don't believe it was his intent to mislead the league. I don't believe it was his intent to double claim the things. However, it is your responsibility to maintain your update page. It is not the responsibility of the updater to maintain your update page. Now, I've worked with a bunch of different updaters. I've worked with several different head updaters. I know most of them are very, very reasonable people who are more than willing to help if you ask for it. I do know that they have given an excellent example page of what what a good update should look like. I myself had a shitty one back when on my first player, and now that I have moved to my new player here, I followed the new update scheme. I still had a shitty one. I forgot to link claims. I forget to link things a lot, but I've solved that. I was given the heads up. Hey, don't forget to link your claims. No problem. Didn't do it. And then it happened again. I threw it on really quick on mobile. Forgot to link it. They gave me a second warning. Hey, really, if you don't do this again, seriously, if you need help, see your GM. Make sure that gets happen. Third update page, haven't had a problem. Ever since then, I do it. I make sure it's done. It just takes it. If I take a couple extra minutes out of my time, it saves them a few extra minutes on their time. I get it. It's my player. I'm responsible for him. But when it happens, you've got to check on these things. And I think I repeated myself a little bit there, so I apologize. But so now we've got 3 incidents of it happening in a row. By definition, I would want that reported, regardless of the player, regardless of the intent. 3 in a row makes it a problem. Now, obviously, he did the same thing 3 times in a row. Like I said, I don't believe he was trying to cheat. I believe somebody who would do that, something like that, 3 times in a row, would arguably be the worst cheater ever. Because it's a very obvious one to do. Because they generally check your links. And I think it would be really dumb to try to cheat the same way in a row. Because if you do it twice in a row, obviously they're going to look for it every time from now on. So it's not something I would recommend doing if you're going to cheat. That being said, it happened. So, on to the punishment. 6 million, 16 TPE, gone. I believe 8 of that was from the double claims, but it might have been more. I don't know exactly. I didn't go that deep into it. All I know, 6 million, 16 TPE, easy to remember that. So if we look at that, some people said that was too harsh. Some people said that wasn't harsh enough. I am of the opinion that it probably should have never gotten to that point. It should have probably been fixed on the player side. But if I'm an updater, I would probably have said, before handing down a punishment like that, I may have said, listen, 3 weeks in a row you've done this. You're not getting updated until you make the changes. And you will not be updated. If you make this mistake again, you will not be updated for the week that it happens. Your update's just going to keep getting pushed back until you have a perfect update. This week you didn't get it. Guess what? That sucks. You probably should have made sure that you had a correct one done. Maybe try next week, Make sure nothing's double linked. If the next week it's all good, it's all good. But, start doing it there. Don't, maybe not punish that hard. And if it just keeps happening and keeps happening, if it's consistent, if it's every single week, if he's only getting updated every other week, you've got a serious problem. And then it starts to look like you're taking advantage of the system. Even if you're not, it looks like it. So, for me, the punishment, what it was, doesn't seem too harsh for me. 6 million is not hard to make up. 16 TPE is rough, but if at least 8 of that was ill-gotten, then, you brought that on yourself. When it comes to doing... So, I guess what I'm saying is, it wasn't the punishment itself that I disagree with. It was the timing on the punishment, if that makes sense. Maybe he gets one more chance. I get the 3 strikes, you're out kind of idea. We steal that from baseball, but at the third one, it is a pattern. It is something had to be done, and maybe they believed that would be a wake-up call. Hey, you fucked up. You're getting punished for fucking up. This will continue to happen if you continue to make the same mistakes. We've punished people much harder for similar things. But from reading what the updaters said, taking them at their word, it's a rare occurrence to double link things. You don't really see that as much. So, young TB, if you're listening to this, and I hope you are, because I just hope there are listeners, try to see it from their side of it's such a rare occurrence, and their job, while they do get paid to do that, the whole point of the league is for you to maintain your player. Any issues with that generally get punished. I mean, that's kind of how the league's always been. If you fuck up, you get punished. And the update page is considered your responsibility. They just check it over. Now, it sounds like they've got a nice template or alternate website or something going on to make the updates a heck of a lot easier. But right now, it's actually not too bad. I used to hate doing it. I still hate doing updates. I hate linking all that stuff. But that's because I'm lazy too. I get it. Trust me. You're talking to someone who drops their pants as soon as they come home, who frequently does nothing at home and just kind of sits around and gets fat. Like, I get being lazy, man. But if it's something you care about, you find the time. And I guess being more accurate with your labelings can also help. I didn't realize people were just writing like PT or training or whatever. I have always written training without putting a week on it. Yet that's never seemed to be a problem, but you really only do one training a week. Every once in a while, I'll forget to do an AC, or I'll forget to claim an AC, so I'll get 2 of those. You just mark that. Not hard. Same with PTs. Same with weekly predictions. I didn't realize people were just doing that. But it seems like that's actually more common, so I can't harp on him for that much. Just, make sure it's done. Obviously, people are very, very upset about this because this is the NSFL, and that's kind of what we do, is we get really upset about things like that. The HO has to set a precedent And I'll be the first one to say I'm not always the hugest fan of the HO. Even as a member of it, I wasn't the hugest fan of the HO. But, I think the precedent set by this is actually a pretty good one. The punishment is reasonable for attempts at double claiming to cheat the league out of stuff. Remove the offending TPE, and you take a slight TPE hit. You didn't get suspended. That's always a plus. So it's not like do you lose a week of TPE? Yeah, but at the same time, you could have lost. You could have lost it in a different way and in a worse way. Suspension hurts you and your team a lot because your player can't even play. And that could have been for multiple weeks. So I don't know if it was not harsh enough or too harsh. Like I said, I just think the timing of it was a bit off. But theoretically, after 2 strikes, they could have been like, all right, if this keeps happening again, stop it, and then punish if it's a chronic thing. But as always, that's kind of my take on it. You guys may have something different. I like to think I'm a pretty fair person when it comes to some of these things. I like to be a straight shooter. If I think it's way too harsh, I'll definitely call him out on it. If I think it's way too soft, I'll definitely call it out on him. So I think overall, I'd give the handling of this situation a C. That's kind of the best I can put it. I kind of wish it was a bigger controversy. I'm not going to lie. Gives me more to talk about. We needed something. I think we all admit we needed some kind of controversy. The league is the most active when there's a bunch of controversy, and that's terrible to say, but that is such a helpful thing as a simulation league, is for there to be this controversy where stuff is happening. It gets site hits up. It gets activity up. People are talking about it, tweeting about it, posting about it. It is a weirdly fun time. But hey, I'm a simple guy. I enjoy activity in the league in any form, unless it's incredibly toxic. And, if we start getting into player insults and personal shit, that's when it goes too far. But I think it was an appropriate level of drama to have in the league. Plus, it raised an issue, and we got to set a new precedent on punishments. So, there we go. So, next we're going to talk about the Season 11 games that have happened so far. I'm just going to touch on this, because obviously you can look at the stats yourself, you can see how things played out, how teams did. But I'll pull up the index real quick, and, we'll just take a quick look at this, see how things are going. And the index says it is updated, and it is. There we go. So, leading the league right now, as is expected, at 2-0 for both of them. Baltimore Hawks, New Orleans, second line. The Yeti, Liberty, Orange Otters, and Outlaws are all 1-1, and the Wraiths and Sabercats are 0-2. I think the Wraiths and the Liberty is probably the biggest surprise to people. Liberty got one over on San Jose today. Wraiths had a tough one. They had a tough break. They lost to the Hawks and they lost to the Outlaws. And I'm gonna say I didn't expect the Outlaws game to go quite the way it did. I thought it would be a bit closer. I'll admit I didn't watch it too well. I was driving home at the time, so I kind of had a passing glance at red lights. But it looks like it was a well-played game by the Outlaws, more so than the Wraiths, obviously, because the Wraiths lost. But what I'm saying is they actually, it doesn't look like a well-played game. I'm looking at the stats now. I apologize. It seemed a little more competitive than I thought it was. With both QBs throwing under an 80 rating, that's a rough one. I think Fitzpatrick got knocked hard for that one pick, and for being 50% completion rating. But 250 yards and 2 TDs to 1 interception, not a bad game for Fitzpatrick. Pennington at 4 for 45 had a slightly higher completion rate. More yards. Obviously, if you're coming back, you're going to throw for more yards. But the 2 interceptions really killed him, especially since one was a full-on pick 6. basically to start the game out. So the Wraiths have an interesting one because they just picked up their brand new running back in Summer, who was the number 4 draft pick overall, the highest rated running back in the league, or highest rated running back coming into the draft, based on TPE alone. However, he didn't get to touch the ball all that much. I would have thought at the very least they'd run it running back by committee, but their other rookie, Carrasco, got the majority of the touches, and I'm wondering if that was just game plan, but I would have thought Summer would have been the obvious choice there. You drafted him in the first round. I would have thought you would have played him, but I'm not the coach there. That's just me. So, Outlaws looking about mediocre like we thought they would be. Wraiths looking a little worse than they thought. Liberty winning over San Jose was kind of the big deal here. 10-6, low-scoring game, defensive struggle. We had, that was a tough one for me to watch as a player because he died on the one. The game, the last play ended on the 1-yard line right as time expired. And I'm mad at the sim for that one because of them waiting the full 40 seconds for every snap. No team in the league does that in the real NFL, so the sim doing that is kind of annoying. But whatever, I'm not going to hate on it too much, but it could be better. Regardless, so yeah, that's really the big upset there. That explains why San Jose is still 0-2. And the rest of the league is kind of hanging out there. Everything else just kind of falls into place exactly where you think it would. Not anything amazing, not anything terrible. I just wanted to look at those two teams that were, I guess, higher and lower than I thought. The Wraiths and the Liberty. But talking about the strategy, especially with like I was saying with the Wraiths, was surprised they're not running their first round draft pick more. The thing for me that's interesting, because I have the sim, I go through the files. I like to look at that. I like to help my team strategize just a little bit. It's fun. I guess it's fun. It's fun. But it is it's interesting to look at something. It brings me to something that is concerning to me about the league, and about the things, because I was looking at depth charts, because obviously you use the depth chart and you use the strategies of the other team to see what is going on and how to beat your opponent. And again, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm sure you know this at this point. But there was an interesting kind of pattern that I see going on that worries me a bit, especially when it comes to the health of the league, but also when it comes to what's kind of going on and strategizing. So what I'm seeing is the increasing use of two-way players. And the reason this is a problem for me is it actually makes it's starting to make certain positions useless now. The main spot where two-way players are used is wide receivers moving to cornerback and playing both. In case you are not aware, apparently tackle means almost nothing to defensive players, which is counterintuitive because you'd think tackle would be kind of a big deal. You'd think you'd want to be able to tackle people, but testing has shown that tackle doesn't really do much. So it's kind of become a dump stat for higher TPE defensive players for regression. But the bigger issue is that means that a wide receiver with maxed out speed, endurance, and hands, I should say, will play just as well at cornerback as a cornerback with maxed strength, endurance, or speed, endurance, and hands, which is not great, because you'd think the corner would have a bigger advantage because he's got better tackle, he's got better strength, but no. It turns out you can just run them both ways, especially once your endurance is maxed out. You can just run both ways, and it has almost no impact on play. In the real NFL, there are essentially no two-way players. Every once in a while, there's two-way players you'll see in the NFL, in the real NFL. For those of you who don't watch but listen to this podcast, I can't imagine there's many of you, but there's two you'll see. You'll see defensive backs, specifically defensive backs, playing as doing like jet sweeps and doing like trick plays on offense just to kind of mix it up because they're either fast or whatever. And then you'll see, and it's usually the punt returners. If you notice, it's usually the kick or punt returners who are doing that because their agility and quickness allows them to, on a jet sweep or on mostly jet sweeps. It's mostly jet sweeps. Let's be honest. It's almost always a jet sweep. So it allows them to get that speed up quick and then get the speed up to get them going fast and then use their agility to make men miss and get some stuff going on. But on the flip of that, the other one you'll see is the star wide receivers playing safety on Hail Marys or at the end of, on the big plays towards the end in prevent defense kind of stuff. And those are typically what you see. And if you notice, the wide receivers playing safety are in the end zone or right in front of the end zone. They're not running routes. They're playing a zone area. They're literally there because they're bigger and better at catching balls on a Hail Mary. That is it. That's it. The one exception to all of that, the two exceptions, I should say, were the couple of weeks in 2015 when J.J. Watt played tight end, and the couple of times in 2017 when Dontari Poe played fullback, or the one time he played quarterback, kind of, which was hilarious. And by the way, perfect passer rating for that guy. Props to you, Dontari Poe. Only defensive player to score a passing, receiving, rushing, and defensive touchdown in a year, which is incredibly impressive. Good for him. But outside of those two extreme outliers, you're seeing jet sweeps from corners and safeties, generally corners, and you're seeing wide receiver safeties on Hail Marys. So in this league, so why am I talking about all this? Well, if you look at the depth charts for all of the teams, there are two teams in the NSFL who don't have a wide receiver playing some form of cornerback or safety on defense. Majority of the teams run nickel right now. It's a pretty pass-happy league, and nickel seems to be the most effective at stopping that, especially because, but actually seeing it now, the reason most people run nickel in the league is because there's a limited number of defensive linemen and of linebackers, and you can get more of them and be more effective if you run them. If you run the ones you have up front, only recruit those guys, only draft players or trade for players who play those positions, and then just stick your wide receivers, your high-end wide receivers at cornerback, and say, fuck it, let's just go both ways. We got this. Who the hell cares? The two teams that are not doing it are I believe it's well, I know for sure it's San Jose, and I'd have to check again, but I believe it is oh God, why are names escaping me? I believe it's it might just be San Jose. I haven't checked in a little bit. It's been a minute since I looked at it. I don't want to load it up here because sometimes it really fucks with my computer. I should have pulled it up before I did this. But anyway, the fact that one, maybe two teams aren't using it tells me that, well, let's look at the flip on this. The Yeti, Colorado Yeti, have 0 corners on their depth chart. They have both of their wide receivers playing both ways on the entire depth chart. The flip of that is that's significant. That means at no point are they planning on addressing corner in the draft. They have nobody playing corner on their team. They're just like, screw it, we can get away with two-way players. Let's just run them both ways. And I don't think that's good for the league. I think it totally eliminates the need for a corner position. And the fact that the sim doesn't have any degradation in play on a player who's playing every snap of every game, and yes, they're playing every snap of every game, which not even real receivers do, on offense only, that is an issue. There's all you've got. So there's no point in making a cornerback anymore, right? You just grab wide receiver. You grab a bunch of wide receivers. You don't even have to grab a bunch of wide receivers. You can have the wide receivers you have, play corner. The best ones you have, play corner. You can start running 3 and 4 wide receiver sets if you need to. Not a problem, because if you have 4 wide receivers, who cares? You just get 4 wide receivers, you put them in at corner and safety, and you're good. Who cares? It works. It doesn't have any detriment to your team, and you can pay less people. You got way more cap room. And then all you have to do is draft linebackers and linemen. We've already gotten rid of O-line bots. There's talks, from what I understand, of looking at D-line bots. Why are we just eliminating positions? Do we want everybody to just play quarterback, wide receiver, running back, and linebacker? Is that what we're trying to get to here? Is the only position you're going to play on defense going to be linebacker? Because that's where we're headed right now. If D-line bots go through, and if we allow these two-way players to just play corner non-stop, then who the hell? Then what's the point? You know what I mean? What's the point? We'll just play linebacker. Everybody's just play linebacker if you want to play defense. You'll get some sacks, you'll get some interceptions, but who cares? Corner, no need. Safety, no need. We got wide receivers. We're going to have a league of 30 wide receivers and 5 defensive players. I know I'm stumbling across words here, but I'm at a loss for words as to why this has been allowed to go on so long. And I think it needs to be solved sooner rather than later. I guess if we let it go on one more season, that wouldn't be the absolute end of the world, but, if you're not going to use a position at all, then how does that show you? I'm having trouble. I apologize, you guys. I'm having trouble coming up with words. I'm sober, and I'm having trouble coming up with the words to say how I really feel about this. I had planned out all these things I was going to say, and I got kind of ranty, and I know that, but it's just kind of it's a big turnoff if you're looking into the league. The first player I made was a cornerback. If I had known then what I do now, I would have made a linebacker. I would have made a defensive end. It just seems like we're taking away opportunities for people to do the things they want to do. I guess that's my bit on it. Maybe not. Maybe there's more. I think. So I'd implore the HO, if any of you guys are listening to this, please look into this. If you aren't already, it was just it's rough seeing, like, maybe I'm just complaining because my team's not benefiting from it, and maybe we should just switch it. But we have one of our most active members on our team is a cornerback, and why would he want to play that? He's going to be just as bad. He's going to be just as effective as a wide receiver. And, for him, why doesn't he just switch to linebacker? I don't know. I think it just defeats the purpose. The whole point was for you to try to field a whole team. And if you're, I realize we're low on players, guys. I realize we're low on players. But we can get more of them to play more things. We have less people in the DSFL and more people in the NSFL if we stop removing positions from being able to be played. I think it goes against the spirit of the league, which is to be simulated football. It's in the fucking name. The National Simulated Football League. If football is, the archetypes are based on the ideas of what real players kind of look like, kind of perform like. Their size, their weight, their speed, their ability to catch and stuff like that. It's all based on, if you go back and listen to my thing with Ballerstorm, he talks about how he was looking at players who he thought were the personification of archetypes and trying to see what made them different from each other. And that's the whole point of having the different ones. And the game has kind of slowly become like what happened in Dungeons & Dragons 3.5. For those of you who don't know, if you play that, depending on who you play that game with, and actually, I guess I should speak more to even my experience with the online game. But if you play, I guess I should say online RPGs or even RPGs in general, they start out way fun with everybody figuring stuff out, especially when they first come out. Everybody's trying to figure out what is everybody's having fun learning stuff. How do these abilities work? And that's what happened in this league at the beginning, too. Everybody was learning stuff. We were trying to figure out how stats played with each other. How does the sim work? How does everything go? It was really cool because you saw a bunch of super interesting builds for every position. It was a bunch of fun. And we got to see how those interacted on the field. And obviously everybody's trying to win, but it's become a min-maxing thing. And I'll admit it, I'm doing it right now. I got a running back. I'm pumping speed. I'm pumping speed hard. And endurance is right behind it. And then after that, I'll probably pump agility. Or hands. I don't fucking know. It doesn't matter. Speed first. Speed 100% of the way. I chose the guy with the highest speed and one of the highest endurances. And if I pump those two things, I will consistently put out great numbers. And if I pump up hands, I will put up better catching numbers. And if I pump up agility, I'll put up slightly better numbers too. But after that, Now, was my idea to make a running back who ran for a fuck ton of yards? Yeah. Did I know exactly how to do that? Absolutely. But it's sad to see that I did that. I'm disappointed in myself for doing that, but I'm also... I know why I did it. I would have liked to have made an all-around back who kind of does everything. And I still could, let's be honest, I still could, but I wanted to be 100% rushing, and that's the speed back, and that's getting your speed all the way up, and that's how it works. there's corner types that aren't used. There's wide receiver types that basically aren't used. There are everybody's got a type. Everybody can. I'm sure if you think about your position, when you went through the archetypes when you made it, you knew right off the bat which one you weren't going to do. You looked at them and you went, "Wow, that one's bad. There's no way that one succeeds." And if you're on your second character, you knew you weren't like, "Hey, I'm gonna make a defensive end and I'm gonna play around with this thing." You were gonna make a defensive end and you were gonna make the specific archetype that you knew would work, that you thought would work the best for you, that you thought would work the best statistically. And I get it. Stats are fun. That's the point. That's half the reason we play the game. But it seems like it's depriving of the actual experience of it. There's no strategy. Draft the best wide receivers you can, have them play both ways. That's the strategy for your offensive aerial attack and your defense against the aerial attack. Because who cares, right? Man, that got ranty, and I'm sorry. This is one that I'm weirdly passionate about. So that's what we're looking at. Two-way players, get the fuck rid of them. I'm just going to say that outright. If you held a vote today, I strongly in favor. You would not hear a dissent from me, and I would be glad to write the majority opinion on that. But it's just one of those things, man. I know part of it stems from my team not doing it, and I'd like them to hold. I would like them to hold the integrity of not doing it out of principle. But if they feel the need to do it out of necessity, I would understand completely. So, take a look at it. Think about it. Let me know if you think something's different. If you disagree with me, I'd love to hear your opinion on that. Come on and debate with me on the show. I'm sure Colby's got a 1,000-word essay about why two-way players are the greatest gift to the NSFL ever already planned out. And that's not a dig on him. That's really just... That's the kind of guy he is. I know. I'm sure he could come up with 1,000 reasons why it's great. I'm just going to sit here and say I've given you why I think it's not great. I think it deprives from the league. I think it goes against the idea of what I think it deprives from the experience of the league, both for observers and for players, especially new players who want to get into the NSFL. I think it takes away from the integrity of the league as far as trying to be a simulated football league, because it takes something that doesn't exist in actual football and makes it happen. I think it's really just an abuse of the system, in much the same way that I look at this the same way as if you guys remember when mobile quarterbacks became wide receivers and became unstoppable. That kind of idea of, does it work? Sure, it works. But is it really in the spirit of what we're trying to do? No, it's not. So hopefully that wasn't too preachy. I know it was, but hey, if somebody would like to prevent me from preaching to the choir here, please come on my show and keep me in check. Give me your opinions. There's a couple of you out there that I would love to have on the show. PM me in Discord. We'll work something out. I do it from there. There's a couple of you who I'd love to talk about doing other stuff. If time consumers listening to this, I know we've talked about coming on the show. I think it'd be interesting to interview you, but more important than that, I really want to do game commentation again. I had so much fun doing those things, and I would love to be able to bring that back to the league. I think it brings a little more authenticity to what we do. I know it's not the best at times, but I think it was a lot of fun. I think the positive reactions significantly outweighed the negative reactions. If you guys would like to hear it, please let the head office know, or let the commentator, or let TC know. Fuck it, just let TC know. Add him in the chat. Just at Time Consumer, bring back Friday night commentators. Bang. It'll be a good time. Game of the week. I would do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday again. Game of the week every week. What we think is going to be the best one. We'll commentate it. For those of you who enjoy it, I will get drunk again. I know it's weird hearing me sober. I enjoy being drunk more. But, work, real life comes first. I'm finally done with the shit at work that prevents me from doing all that stuff, so I have more free time now. I would love to bring that shit back. I would like to give a shout out to Casey Colby again. We did recorded a podcast. He talked about it in the Wonder Dome. It is 2 hours of pure garbage, and that will be releasing here soon. I'm sorry to him because I was lazy as fuck and didn't put it into the editor yet, and put it out. So this will be coming out before that. But hey, what do you know? It's one of those things of shit happens. If you would like to, I've already said it before, but if you would please come on my show. As much as I love hearing the sound of my own voice, because I think I'm an amazing person and always right, I would love to hear you on the show more. You get a cut of the profits. It's easy money. You spend, an hour, 2 hours most with me, unless you're Colby, and then you get to spend 2 hours with me being drunk, and then another hour with me being drunk off of the air, talking to you about shit you do not care a single fuck about. Up until 3 o'clock in the morning, But it's not a huge time commitment. I don't think. It's easy money. You get $2 million out of this. It's a lot of fun. At least for me, I like to try to make my guests have a good time, even if I have to force you to have a good time. I would like to say that in case you are not aware, I will be joining the commentary team for the drafts and the award ceremonies, which should be a lot of fun. So look forward to that. We'll have our very own, we've got our Rich Eisen in Time Consumer. We've got our very own Mel Kiper, in my opinion, in Jiggly. And I say that with love. And then we have me, who is the drunken homeless guy who told the Browns to draft Johnny Manziel. So, it'll be a good time. And as far as the league goes, good luck to everybody out there. I hope your character builds are going great. I hope your team is doing well. I hope you're having fun. I know I am. If you ever want to play computer games with me, I'm here. Just PM me. I got a bunch of them. I'm sure we'll find something. If you ever want to just fucking talk, I don't care. I love football. Anything to do with it. Hit me up. PM me on the site. PM me on Discord. We'll figure it out. It'll be a good time. I know some of the newer players may want to check this out. If you're new, let's put it this way. If you're new to the league, I want you on this show. I'd love to hear about your experience. I'd love to hear about what you've been doing, what brought you here, how you've been liking it so far, what you think the league could do better, all that kind of stuff. Follow me on Twitter. I never post. At C33Jared, Jerrod, and that's actually probably going to change to Sabercast Studios, because let's be honest, it makes more sense for me to post as a media company than it does to make as my player. I think it's more fun that way. Anything I'm forgetting? I don't think so. Am I trying to stretch it out to an hour? I might be, but, Oh, hey, DSFL. Good luck, guys. I'm not in it anymore, so I feel bad for kind of ignoring you guys, because you're just as legitimate as we are. But like I said, I feel bad. I paid more attention to you guys when I was in it. Let me know if there's some shit going on there. Like that, I'd love to learn more about it. I should keep better track. I know there's some rookies in there who are new to the team, who are new to the site. Like I said, get on my show. We'll talk. You'll make money. Buy some equipment. Think about it this way. If you spend an hour with me on the show, you can afford 2 weeks of training of the 5 TBE training. It's 10 TBE just for coming on my show, basically, equivalent. Or you're 2/3 of the way to a pro equipment. But, 10 TBE. Come on the show. Easy. Anybody. Get here. I don't care if you're shit on the mic. Just don't have a shitty mic. That's really the only thing that they ask. Subscribe if you like it. I guess. I don't know. Don't subscribe. Subscribe. But, I get no money from this. Let's be honest. It's more fun. I think I'm up to, 9 subscribers now. I'm rambling. I apologize. I'm not drunk. I should be. 8 subscribers. Woo! Thank you guys. It looks like the new subscribers are people who that use their real names. So I'm not going to go blast you out, dox you here. Also, I don't know who your player is. So we'll just say John R. and Eric K. Thanks for subscribing. You'll probably hear about this before I even make the post about it. For everybody else, stay tuned. I plan on doing these a lot more frequently now that I have more time. I got some interviews with some players coming up. I'll probably do something else fun. I don't know. I'll figure something out fun to do as a fun podcast, not just like a me talking about shit for an hour podcast, but actual fun podcast. If you have any ideas, let me know. If you have someone you really want to hear talk about their stuff, let me know. Let them know. Tell them to come on this show. Anything else is up to you guys. All right, guys. Thanks. I will see you on the other side, and be prepared. The Colby Garbage podcast, where I'm just drunk as absolute fuck, is coming up, and that will be posted here shortly after. There is an incentive to actually listen to the whole thing, but there is also an incentive not to, and that's because it's 2 goddamn hours long. So I apologize ahead of time to the graders. Trust me, we stayed on topic the whole time, but dear God, was it a shit show. Pro tip to all the kids out there: don't drink as much alcohol as I do. You might die. I just had a rough morning, but alcohol is good in moderation. Don't do drugs. I don't know. Sorry, guys. I really shouldn't go on like this anymore. All right. Seriously, though, thank you guys for all of you who listen. Thank you guys for all of you who subscribe. Tell your friends to listen to this podcast. I don't care. I don't care if they subscribe. I don't care if this is the first one. I don't care if the last one they ever listen to. It brings more legitimacy to the league. It is something that I think can be improved upon. I know I can do better with this, and I'm working on it. Trust me, I'm working on it. I want to add some music at some point. I've come up with... I did a theme song for one of them. I lost the audio to it. Oops. But I'm working on getting some better recording equipment, a nicer microphone. Again, I already bought one, but I want to do some actual recording. So nicer microphone, nicer audio interface, stuff like that. Things to make this better. Make it more legit. Maybe I'll even do video podcasts eventually if I ever clean up my apartment. Do NSFL vlogs, but not be Jake Paul. Simple enough. All right, guys. Have a good week. Good luck on Friday's games.